Like most people, I've changed, in both obvious and more subtle ways. To be blunt, the last few years cracked me open. Life kind of forced me to question a lot. Things I used to be sure of, ways I used to behave, how I saw myself. But the biggest shift has been my relationship with ambition. Not how much of it I have, but how I view it. You see, I've always had this low-key feeling that I'm falling short, ever since I can remember. Like I'm supposed to be doing more, and I'm wasting my potential. And anytime I'd hit a goal, instead of feeling proud, I'd tell myself the bar was just too low, that I'd set an easy target. So I took things to extremes, setting massive, borderline crazy goals, and throwing myself into them completely. Still do, honestly, just maybe a little more self-aware about it now. One side of that coin is that I actually believe I can hit those targets, and the other is that I just hate the idea of not trying. It's how I keep the noise in my head quiet, the part of me that always feels like I'm not enough. Up until fairly recently, I used to think ambition was an unconditionally good thing, a fire worth protecting no matter what, even if it burned everything else around me. And I didn't even notice the damage at first, because it doesn't show up as some big dramatic fallout. People don't storm out of your life, they just stop being there, bit by bit, quietly, like background noise fading out. And eventually I just didn't show up anymore. For weddings, for birthdays, for hangouts, for life. And I'd convince myself, they'll get it. The real ones are gonna understand. But the truth is, time doesn't wait for your potential, and people don't just sit around your orbit forever. Obsession has a rhythm. It sharpens you, refines you, but it also distorts you, and can turn your focus into arrogance. I started believing most people weren't serious enough about what they were doing, and I judged them for it, because I was me and they were them, which sounds so ridiculous now, but at the time it felt justified. Steve Jobs always talked about keeping a high signal-to-noise ratio, cutting out the distractions, amplifying what matters. 80% signal, 20% noise. That idea shaped how I work. If it doesn't move the needle, it doesn't get airtime. But that mindset pushes your success rate as close to inevitable as it gets. I get it. It does come with a price though. For one, it made me insanely impatient, and eventually a little cruel. Not in what I said, but in how easily I just disappeared on people. It also made uncertainty absolutely unbearable, because no matter how dialed in you are, there's always some part of the equation that's out of your hands. And when you're wired for control, you start trying to bend reality in places it just won't bend. It doesn't improve outcomes, it just breaks you in the process. There was no downtime, no stillness, no enjoying the moment, just the 9 to 5 that paid the bills and the 5 to 9 that I lived for. And yeah, there are things I wish I could undo, moments I missed, people I drifted away from without meaning to. But obsessive ambition doesn't give a shit about any of that. It doesn't care about closure, it doesn't say sorry, it just keeps going. And what I realized is ambition, at its most extreme, has a body count. And often the first casualty is you, because it can completely eviscerate the now. I thought peace would come once I made it, but no finish line feels good when there's no one left waiting at the end. Now don't get me wrong, I still very much believe in the pursuit of greatness, of making things you're passionate about that entertain at worst and inspire at best. But not if it means burning down the rest of my life. I don't want to become the ghost in someone else's story. Because if you build something great, but then lose everyone it was meant to matter to, what exactly did you win?